We're starting with page 1 of the Unit 9 Ecology Study Guide. Remember that Unit 9 covers chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16 in your book. Just to review some of the learning targets, the first one is I can describe the ecological levels of organization in the biosphere, list them in order and what they include. This was on slide number 5 of the Basic Ecology PowerPoint. So looking over at slide number 5 of the Basic Ecology PowerPoint, you're going to have to bear with my chicken scratch, but the levels of organization are organism, population, community, ecosystem, don't forget biome, and then biosphere. Community, population, and organism are all living things, biotic things. Ecosystem, biome, and biosphere include biotic and abiotic factors. So an organism might be something like a student in our class, like Jackson. The population are members of the same species in an area that have access to each other. Their community is all of the living things in that area. That includes plants, insects, other animals. When you move into the ecosystem level, now you're looking at living and non-living components. So the rocks, the creeks, streams, type of soil, things like that. Your biome is categorized by a specific climate. We live in the temperate deciduous forest biome, and there's 6 land biomes, all kind of organized by their general climate. And then the biosphere is the part of Earth where life can exist. It's different from the stratosphere or the atmosphere. The biosphere is the part of Earth where life can exist. So those are our levels of organization, and this is definitely going to be a short answer question on your test. The next one says I can describe characteristics of biotic and abiotic components of aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. What you really need to remember here is that bio means living things. So anything that's a living thing is a biotic component. Abiotic is one of those times again in biology where you put an A in front of the word and it gives it its opposite meaning, so anti-living things. I can describe the following relationships in an ecosystem and provide examples of each: mutualism, parasitism, and commensalism. This was on slide 23 through 31 in our PowerPoint. So your 3 types of symbiosis are commensalism, parasitism, and mutualism. In commensalism, one species is going to benefit and the other is neither harmed nor helped, like our polar bear and cyanobacteria example. The bacteria gets a place to live, but it doesn't hurt the polar bear. It also doesn't help him. The epiphytes or orchids rely on other plants for structural support, but they don't hurt the other plant. That's commensalism. Parasitism is when one species benefits and the other is harmed. Those are things like ticks, tapeworms, lamprey eels, fleas. Okay, they're all harming another organism. And then mutualism is beneficial for both species, like the cleaning birds and the cleaning shrimp. The birds that live on the back of the rhino and eat the insects, he benefits because the insects aren't flying around, and they benefit because the odor of the rhino attracts the insects. I can describe how energy flows through an ecosystem. Draw and compare an example of each in the space below. So for a food chain, that's on slides 37 through 39. You're looking at one direction of energy flow. The energy is going to come from the sun, going straight to the producer, which is always the first step in a food chain. The plants in the producer step are going to be eaten by primary consumers, which are usually herbivores. In this example, it's the crustaceans. Secondary consumers, like fish, will eat the crustaceans. And then tertiary consumers, like raccoons and top-level predators, will eat the fish. At any point, these steps in the food chain can die and be decomposed back into the ecosystem by the decomposers. So that's your food chain, one direction of energy flow. Your food web shows the relationship of the interconnected food chains, and it shows how they're all dependent on each other. And then your energy pyramid shows the distribution of biomass and energy in an ecosystem. So we're going to start on slide 32 and take a look at some of the examples that were in the PowerPoint. And I'll just explain those to you really quick. So what we're really talking about here is what eats what, or your trophic levels. It represents a feeding step in the transfer of energy. Biomass is the mass of all of the organic matter comprising a group of organisms in that habitat. So if you put them all on a scale, what would their mass be? When we're looking at trophic levels, you have your producers at the bottom. This is the highest biomass, and it has the most energy because they get their energy directly from the sun. It's all of the plants. Primary consumers are herbivores, plant eaters. Secondary consumers are typically smaller carnivores. And then tertiary are your top level consumers. When we're looking at how energy decreases as it moves up a food chain, you're really losing 90% with each step. So the producers have all this energy that they absorb from the sun. Those primary consumers are only going to be passing on 10% of that energy. 90% is lost in that transfer. Where does it go? It's burned. It's sent off into the atmosphere. It's burned. It's used as energy. And that energy continues to decrease as you move up the food chain. That's what this pyramid shows. It shows how much more energy and biomass is down here at the producer levels than is present at the top level or tertiary levels. Energy is decreasing. This is a good example of a food chain, and remember I said that the arrow is always pointing to the thing doing the eating. The arrow is pointing to the thing doing the eating. And then at any point, these guys can die and be decomposed back into the ecosystem. Okay. A food web shows the interconnected relationship of multiple food chains, and you can see that if any organism is removed from the ecosystem, there's always going to be kind of a domino effect on the rest of the ecosystem. So whatever was eating that organism or whatever that organism is eating will be affected. In your PowerPoint, there are a few different food webs for you to take a look at that you need to understand. Okay. So those were your learning targets. Number one was I can describe the effects of limiting factors, including examples on a population and potential species extinction. The limiting factors are temperature, water, and food. Remember that we talked about why you can't be a mermaid, and it's because you don't have the adaptations to live in the sea like a mermaid would. So temperature, water, and food are all limiting factors. All right, I am going to put this next question on the next page. So we're going to stop there.